It was an absolute massacre. In fact, some are calling it a massacre. The Republican establishment just got hit by a Texas-sized freight train, and they never saw it coming. Last night in the Lone Star State, the most powerful, the most funded, the most entrenched rhino in the entire United States Senate got absolutely annihilated. We're talking about a 4-term incumbent, the former Senate Majority Whip, a man backed by the Bush dynasty, crushed by 30 points. It wasn't a race. It was a political execution. Stick with me to the very end of this video because we're going to break down everything. The money, the donors, the power brokers, and exactly why last night wasn't just a Texas story. It was a death knell for the Republican establishment and victory for the future of MAGA and America First. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the nation and indeed the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, if the news has been leaving you exhausted and overwhelmed lately, that's exactly what they want. My free Patriot Alerts are the antidote. Every morning, one clear update that reminds you we're winning with the undeniable proof. Scan the QR code below and feel the difference today. All right, let's dive right in here. It was nothing short of stunning. Last night, the entire nation witnessed a 4-term incumbent, one of the most powerful senators in all of Congress, get crushed by 30 points. Literally 1 minute after the polls closed in El Paso, the westernmost county of Texas, within 1 minute, the AP called it. Right away as the returns started coming in, literally just minutes after polls were closed, it was absolutely clear that Cornyn was getting absolutely blown out. Even MSNBC recognized it.
And then in the election day vote, I have Paxton at 87 over Cornyn 13.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, right. In the early vote in this county, at Stonewall County, Adams talking about 28 points is the margin for Paxton over Cornyn. And now we're starting to get election day. And we said this would be the more Cornyn-friendly was the expectation. The election day vote, everyone election day, presumably full knowledge of that Trump endorsement. Paxton had already done better with the election day vote back in the preliminary. Wow, a 74-point margin from 28 to 74. So if that's a harbinger, what we're seeing in that one small county, then where you see Paxton red right here, is going to get deeper and deeper, Paxton.
You heard that right. A 74% margin. This was a Liz Cheney level blowout. Of Texas's 254 counties, John Cornyn won 4. 4 to Paxton's 250. And note, those 4 are the most liberal counties in Texas, like Travis, where Austin is, and Dallas. Everywhere else, it was a Paxton blowout. Take Jefferson County, for example. Now, this county was a Cornyn plus 16 in their first round. Remember, this is the runoff. So they were Cornyn plus 16 just a few weeks ago. Yesterday, they were Paxton plus 34. Paxton won a Cornyn plus 16 county by 34 points, which means we saw a 50-point shift toward Paxton in the weeks since their first primary. That, of course, is the power of the one and only Donald J. Trump's endorsement. I like this tweet. The real winner of yesterday's Senate primary was once again none other than Donald J. Trump. Trump's endorsement record continues its perfection streak. He's endorsed 8 governor candidates, and all 8 have won their primaries. He's endorsed 101 House candidates, and all 101 have won their primaries. And as of yesterday, as of 1 minute after their final county finished voting, Ken Paxton became the 9th victory of the 9 U.S. Senate candidates that Trump has endorsed. A 100% primary win on the part of Trump. We have simply never seen a dominance like that before. And both Cornyn and the Republican establishment have just learned the hard way that there is indeed a new sheriff in town. Trump is rewriting the rules of Republican politics, and the establishment has been caught completely off guard. Trump has crushed them every step of the way here. The only way a member of the establishment, like, say, Lindsey Graham, gets Trump's endorsement is if he's voting with Trump 100% of the time. It's Trump's rules now. And you get with the game. You recognize who's boss. You recognize who's the general in this war. And if you get it, Trump doesn't care who you are. He'll crown you. If you don't, like Cornyn or Massey or Cassidy or Cheney for that matter, if you don't recognize and acknowledge who's boss, you're out. That's the iron grip that Trump has over this party. By contrast, this was a colossal loss for establishment Republicans. Get this. You want to see the very definition of incompetence? Foolishness? The Republican establishment spent a whopping $90 million desperately trying to save Cornyn's feckless behind. $90 million. Now, keep in mind, this is the Republican establishment spending $90 million not to defeat a Democrat. This is the Republican establishment spending $90 million to defeat a fellow Republican. Who the hell does that? Again, what level of idiocy does a party have to reach in order to even think of spending money that way? Cornyn outspent Paxton 9-1, only to be crushed in a humiliating landslide. As I understand it, was the largest deficit loss for an incumbent senator. 30 million of it came from the Bush wing that still infests the Texas Republican Party. They are absolutely vile. They actually call themselves Texans for a conservative majority. They need to rename themselves Texans for neocon rhino sellouts. Former Governor Rick Perry chairs the Lone Star Freedom Project. They're a dark money group whose donors are undisclosed. They pumped over $17 million into Cornyn's coffers. And then, of course, One Nation. That's the dark money arm of Senate Majority Leader John Thune's political operation. They burned more than $10 million on Cornyn. And keep in mind, this is now the second incumbent senator that John Thune has lost following Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy's humiliating primary defeat just a few weeks back. The Bush wing of the Republican Party, the Romney-Ryan Rove wing, as I like to call them, is dead. They are pouring millions of dollars into a politics that simply does not exist anymore. And by the way, don't ever buy the nonsense out there that now a Paxton victory is going to force the Republicans to spend more money in Texas than they would have had to spend on Cornyn. And that means less money for everyone else in other races. Tell that to the freaking nearly $100 million the Bushwing Rhino neocon scum wasted on Cornyn for a freaking primary against a fellow Republican. Think of all the candidates who could have benefited from that 90 mil wasted on a guy who lost by 30 freaking points. I have never seen a wing of a party so clueless as to why they keep losing. I am absolutely besides myself with neocon rhino establishment figures. Whether it's the Pence wing of the Indiana Republican Party that refused to redistrict, or the Nikki Haley wing of the South Carolina Republican Party that's refusing to redistrict, they are losers in every way imaginable. And if anyone deserved to lose, it was John Cornyn. He has repeatedly voted for amnesty over the years. He was the lead Republican architect of the so-called Safer Communities Act after the Uvalde shooting that was the single most significant gun control legislation in 30 years. He also pushed back against Trump's pick of Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. He openly threatened not to vote for her. Well, as of yesterday, it was John Cornyn who didn't get the votes. But we saw something else last night, and this, I would argue, this is what's already redefining politics in such a way that goes way beyond Texas. This promises to change our nation like never before. What you're seeing right now isn't just another economic cycle. It's a fundamental shift in how the global system is operating. You got central banks buying gold at record levels, de-dollarization accelerating, and markets reacting to geopolitical instability almost in real time. So the signals are there. People see it. But here's the interesting part. Most haven't actually changed anything. They're still in the same position, still fully exposed to the system. They're watching shift. And that's usually where the mistake happens. Not because people don't understand what's going on, but because they assume they've got more time. And historically, that's not how this plays out. So what we're seeing now is more people starting to reposition, not everything, just a portion. And for a lot of them, that means moving into physical gold. Some are doing that directly, just buying gold and holding it. Others are doing it through their retirement accounts, moving part of an IRA or 401k into a gold IRA. That's exactly how I came across Augusta Precious Metals. I wanted to understand how this works in practice. And after looking into it, I'm confident they're the best at what they do. They walk you through everything, step by step, answer your questions, and help you figure out if it actually makes sense for you. There's no pressure around it. If you want to look into it, go to turleybuysgold.com or text Turley to 35052 to get Augusta's free gold IRA guide. That's turleybuysgold.com or text Turley to 35052. Because in a moment like this, it's not just about seeing the shift. It's about whether you actually respond to it. What we saw last night was a very energized Texas GOP. It was the highest turnout runoff in 20 years in Texas. And that energy is the very Trumpian energy that I've been arguing is the new unifying dynamic of the Republican Party. Republican voters want fighters, not obstructionists. I'm sorry, Masseites. I'm sorry. Republican voters want fighters, not I don't care how, quote, principled your obstructions are. Republicans want their party to be the party of fight, fight, fight. It's actually a very classical politics reawakening, the politics of Carl Schmitt, who long ago argued that politics is irreducible to what he called the friend-enemy distinction. He noted that every domain of human activity has its own irreducible criteria. Morality has good versus evil. Aesthetics has beautiful versus ugly. Economics has profitable versus unprofitable. Schmitt argued that politics likewise has its own irreducible criterion, and that criterion is friend versus enemy. Now, to be clear, a political enemy doesn't have to be evil or bad or malignant or anything like that. And it's not even something he's necessarily recommending. Schmitt isn't prescribing the friend-enemy distinction in politics. He's describing it. This is what makes something political. Something becomes political, right? An office dispute, a church split, a business acquisition. Something becomes political when any one of those activities ends up splitting into two or more groups that are antagonistic, adversarial, and hostile towards each other in such a way that if one side wins, the other side loses by definition. If you win, they lose. If they win, you lose. That's politics. That's how politics works. Politics is power, and it is the power to defeat your adversary. Even in compromise, somebody is going to win more than the other. There is no win-win in politics. That's not politics. That's managerialism. It's always a dialectic of friend versus enemy. And for far too long, Republican rhinos like John Cornyn have reached across the aisle on guns and amnesty and immigration, and in Schmittian terms, he in effect depoliticized politics in doing so. He acted more like an administrator or a manager than a politician. And in the process, Cornyn and establishment Republicans, the Romney-Ryan Rove wing of the Republican Party, they have overseen the undeniable degradation and decline of our nation. Their managerialism has allowed the Democrats, the deep state, the unelected managerial state, administrative state, to get away with so much crap that demonstrably made our nation weaker, poorer, and culturally sicker. And Trump came in and said, no more. We're done. We now, the Republican Party, the new Trumpian Republican Party, we are all about making America great again. And that means we are done giving the Democrats an inch. If anything, we are going to take everything away from. We are going to see the Democrats implode as a viable national party. Our ultimate goal is to defeat the Democrats totally. We're done with allowing the Democrats to have so much as a semblance of influence in D.C. anymore. They are our enemy. Again, that means, bottom line, if we win, they lose. If they win, we lose. That's the friend-enemy distinction. That's why MAGA can be summed up in 2 words if you think it through. Right? Fight, and what? What else? What are we always going to keep doing? What are we never going to get tired of doing? Winning, winning, winning. Fight, win, win, win. And Paxton was all about fighting and winning. And Cornyn was trapped in the time warp thinking it was still 1992. The era of bipartisan consensus is over. A new era of American greatness has begun. And that means Republicans fight to win. And that is exactly what Trump has inspired this party to finally start to do. That's what the voters want. That's what they wanted in Louisiana. That is most certainly what they wanted in Kentucky when they showed the obstructionist Tom Massey the door. And that's what they want in Texas. And there's no question Ken Paxton will be their champion. He will win, and he will fight. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless. Gang, what you just watched, that's just the surface. On Turley Walks, we go deeper with raw, unfiltered talks about what I find to be the most important event of the week that I simply cannot put on YouTube. Scan the QR code for a free preview and see for yourself what happens when we go off platform. Can't wait to see you over there.